Hey guys, AlphaXO here, and welcome to What If Alejandro and Sierra Weren't in Total Drama World Tour. The cast stays the complete same except Sierra and Alejandro are not here. Alright, basically the way I'm doing it is the action special Celebrity Manhunt goes the exact same, it's just at the end, Chris tells Sierra to scram and Alejandro doesn't get a spot. Make sense? Alright. On the plane right there, nothing really happens except, there's no one flirting with Bridget and Lindsay because, Alejandro's not there, of course. Tyler would still try to talk to Lindsay. Lindsay's just not really getting it. Alright? And now onto the challenge. Originally, the first people to finish the challenge were DJ, Lashawna, and Harold, with Bridget and Lindsay soon after. I don't think anything would change here. I think team victory, that would be that. That would be the full team victory. Now, right after Lindsay and Bridget was Alejandro. Alejandro's not here. So actually, it's Tyler. Then Owen and Noah. Right? And then the next people to run out were, technically it was Cody, but Sierra was carrying Cody, so I'm going to do Heather Cody, but it doesn't really change anything because they're still on the same team. And then we get Team Amazon. Team Amazon's not going to have the correct amount of people, because at this point, Duncan quits. Oh no. Meaning, Courtney, Gwen, Izzy, and Ezekiel get put on Team Amazon. And you might think it's unfair that one team has one less player than the other, but there's nothing I could do because Chris wanted 3 teams. Alright? Team Chris would not be called Team Chris, most likely, but there's nothing they can really do about that, because I'm not making a team name. Anyway, the challenge starts. Team Amazon get a very quick early lead thanks to Izzy talking to the camel, and them just having the least amount of people. Team Victory would just be running along. Team Chris wouldn't be riding the goat here, because that's unrealistic, so they'd most likely just carry. I'd imagine that Tyler would be carrying the goat as they went along. And as they're going, I think Team Amazon would find the water first and start building, but because they got the camel, they'd have to build the most. Team Victory would probably find out that the stick's a divining rod by then, so they'd head to the water, meaning Team Chris are the last ones to the water. Right? And now, battle happens, and I think in the end, Team Amazon... No, I think Team Victory end up winning here. Team Amazon in second, Team Chris in third. That's all completely fine because they all have their awards, meaning no one gets eliminated yet. Alright, super happy, crazy, fun time Japan. Alright, before the episode, Heather would realize that she's not really in good standings with her current team. So she tried to make nice with someone. Mainly, I think, Cody and Tyler. Cody, because she's not really had bad interactions with Cody. And Tyler, because he's an idiot. It'd go fine with Cody. He wouldn't really be expecting her to be nice, so honestly it's just kind of a pleasant surprise to him. But Taylor's more suspicious of it, seeing as she did throw a canoe at him. You know? But yeah, the challenge would start, and it would be pinball. Team Victory, DJ would go. Team Chris, I think Tyler would go. And Team Amazon will say Izzy. And now DJ still has his curse thing. So while DJ would get the second most points, I feel like Izzy would get the most points, Tyler getting the least. Yeah, DJ would get the most points, but he would get the middle amount of points, but he'd still injure the animal, sadly. But yeah, now that they have extra time, Team Amazon gets supplies, and Gwen's not really a leader. I mean, even in action, she wasn't really the leader type. So I don't see an argument happening. So Courtney just kind of takes the lead and seemingly wants to do a basketball bit, which, okay. Then Team Amazon enters. Harold still wants to do his authentic Japan idea, and the rest of the team are like, whatever, it's better than nothing. Then Team Chris show up. And honestly, I feel like they're the only team that would make the tiny Tokyo work, so I don't think another team would think of it. So I think they'd still do it with Owen being the monster. By the end of the challenge, I think Team Chris would get the most points and win first class. Then Team Amazon would get the second most, with Team Victory losing. But without Alejandro here to egg on Harold, DJ stays having the most votes and being eliminated. Anything you gonna do, I can do better. Alright, so. In this challenge, you know, the teams had to see who was pushing. So I think the person carrying the sled, Team Chris, is still Tyler. I think it's still Courtney. And Team Victory would need a new person to push, and I think it would end up being Shauna. Now, Shauna and all of Team Victory actually did have a strategy for that challenge, where instead of going to the designated waiting spots, they'd all just wait at the finish line. Which worked. DJ got there really fast. And honestly, I think Shauna's plan would work. I think that Team Victory would get first place here. With no Alejandro, there's no Bridget getting stuck to a pole. Now for the other teams, I think Owen's weight would still crack the ice, and Tyler would have to hold on with his fingers, and he would eventually be able to pull his team up. And I think that Team Chris would still get second place here due to Owen leaning down the hill and being able to weigh them down. Meaning Team Amazon loses. And now, surprisingly, no one's really thinking Ezekiel for the vote. The votes are looking to either be Courtney for bossing her team around the whole challenge, Gwen for Courtney just doesn't like Gwen, or Izzy for being a bit crazy. And honestly, I could see Courtney getting the votes to be eliminated here. Gwen doesn't like Courtney, Ezekiel doesn't like Courtney, and Izzy probably doesn't like Courtney. Broadway, baby. Now this was a reward challenge, but I'll still discuss what happens. Especially since this one's actually important. So, at the start of the challenge, they have to get up Statue of Liberty. Now I think Team Amazon will end up being the first team up Statue of Liberty, and due to Izzy, the first people with the baby carriage. But that didn't really matter, because it was showing that most of the teams were in the same area. Honestly, most teams were in the same area until the baby carriage race. So I think we'll just skip there. Baby carriage race will happen. During the challenge, Tyler will be trying to talk to Lindsay, but Heather would tell him to get his head in the game, focus on the challenge, which wouldn't really rub Tyler the right way, but he'd get it. But yeah, the baby carriage race starts, and Ezekiel would go in the carriage for Team Amazon, Lindsay would go in the carriage for Team Victory, Cody would go in the carriage for Team Chris. And when they get to the Big Apples portion, where they have to move the Big Apples, I think Tyler's still diving and getting it, literally using his head. I think Izzy could probably very easily get it, and so could Harold. Well, not very easily. I think they go through the challenge, and by the end, I think Team Victory end up winning the challenge and getting the reward. With Team Chris in second, because I'd imagine that Heather would move Ezekiel's baby carriage like she did with Noah's in the original. In Slap Slap Revolution, Tyler finally gets through to Lindsay. He screams, causing a song avalanche. Now his team's not very happy about that, fair. So he wants to try and make it up to his team, right? Because Team Chris wouldn't be very vocal, but Heather would be incredibly vocal about how Tyler almost killed them all. But yeah, so the first part of the challenge, Team Victory is able to finish pretty quickly due to their fancy new meat grinder they got in the previous challenge. So they get a good lead and they end up going down the cliff first. And then I think Team Chris, mainly with Tyler trying his best to go as fast as possible, would end up going second and Team Amazon third. I think Owen would attempt to eat it, but Heather would make sure that he didn't, since Alejandro was distracted with other stuff, but seeing as this team's the biggest, Heather would have time to actually just kind of manage stuff. But yeah, we get to the final challenge portion, and Team Victory get the heavy helmets, Team Chris get the fluffy hats, and Ezekiel has to wear the outfit that Cody wore. And then we get to the slap game, and based on what happened, it would be 3 from these two teams, 2 from this team. So I think it would end up being Ezekiel Izzy versus Tyler, Noah, Owen versus Lindsay, LaShawna, Harold. And I think, without Alejandro here to egg on LaShawna, I think most likely I think Team Victory win this challenge. It's close, but I think they win it. And now, between these two teams, I think Team Chris is losing first due to Owen. He's not feeling unwell, but he's definitely very unbalanced. And for the elimination, Heather would tell Cody, Tyler, that they have to vote for Owen. She talked to Noah, but she already knows that Noah's friends with Owen. And Cody, I think Cody would be down for it. Cody's friends with Owen, but he wasn't helpful, and he wants to win. And Tyler, he's hesitant. These two are voting for Heather. Tyler is going to be ending up as the swing vote. While he doesn't like Heather, and he is good friends with Owen, I think Tyler would want to do what's in the best interest of the team. Heather's been useful so far, Owen hasn't. Meaning Owen gets out next. The Amazon race. And now, Team Amazon aren't on a winning streak, so I don't think Gwen's gonna say her thing about Team Amazon winning and getting the curse thing. But based on the episode, it seems like Team Victory and Team Chris end up going left, Team Amazon go right, because that was Gwen's idea. I think that Team Victory still most likely wins. But when it comes to Team Chris, I think they get attacked by the caterpillars and it's Cody that gets dragged away. In which I think Heather's the one that goes to save him. Cody would be surprised that Heather would care, and Heather would just brush it off, saying that he can't be a good teammate if he's dead. But yeah, Team Victory win the reward, but that's not it, because Team Amazon don't know it's the reward challenge, so I feel like they'd see the elimination votes, they'd see a vote for Izzy, and they'd see 2 votes for Gwen. Gwen would be going home if it wasn't for this being a reward challenge. Now, Gwen is surprised by this. She knows she messed up the challenge, but seriously, her over Ezekiel and Izzy? She's shocked. So I feel like during the next challenge she'll want to try and help them out more. But speaking of the next challenge, I can't help falling in love with you. I think before the challenge, Tyler is in first class with Team Victory because Lindsay invited him there. Heather doesn't like this, so she starts to try and scheme with Cody and Noah, saying, hey, Tyler's got an inter-team relationship. We'll need to crush that as soon as possible. Cody doesn't really see an issue with it, especially since he's wanting an inter-team relationship. But Noah understands her point. He thinks it does no harm because it's Lindsay of all people, but he gets what she's talking about, and Noah starts to consider it. When they get to the challenge, I don't think Izzy is somersaulting the plane this time. I think Gwen is trying to talk with Ezekiel and Izzy. But, yeah, they get to the Louvre, and based on the fact that in the canon version, Lindsay almost single-handedly won the challenge first, I think with a whole team helping her, Team Victory get an easy win here. So now it just comes down to Team Amazon, Team Chris. Now, Tyler would run into a wall while trying to do the laser beams. Noah would get his, shoe and shorts burned. I think all three of these members are trying the laser. I don't think they're forcing just Noah to do it. And then with Team Amazon, I think they're very quickly being able to get the things. I think in the end, in a surprising twist, Team Amazon barely get the victory, meaning Team Chris have to go to the elimination ceremony. Now, what I think happens here is Heather wants to vote for Tyler. Noah, thinking it's probably the best option right now, also votes for Tyler. But Tyler would see this as a chance to vote off Heather. And Cody, while Cody has been getting a bit closer to Heather, I'd say he's still better friends with Tyler on this team, and would also vote for Heather. Meaning Tyler and Heather have to do the runway fashion competition, in which they'd pick a model. I think Tyler would pick Lindsay, and Heather would pick Bridget. And I think in the end, mainly because being the pretty girl is Heather's whole deal, Tyler would end up losing the tiebreaker challenge and being eliminated. He'd say a last goodbye to Lindsay as he jumps out of the plane. And now Heather's real mad with Cody. I mean, what was the point in saving his life a few episodes ago if he was just gonna betray her? Alright, we get to the Noof Kids on the rock. The Newfoundland episode. And this one's a reward, but because Gwen is really trying to buddy up with her team after what happened in the Amazon race, I think that she's not going to get distracted by the Duncan statue. But yeah, no one gets an electric motor because everyone has a team to row. And I think in the end, I think that Team Chris are going to get there first, then Team Amazon, and then Team Victory, putting them out of the challenge. And then there's the 3-part challenge where you have to chug a thing of vinegar, which I think would be Heather and Izzy. You have to decipher a Newfoundland sentence, which I think would be Noah and Gwen. And then Cody and Ezekiel have to kiss a fish like they mean it. Now, I think both Heather and Izzy end up chugging the vinegar relatively at the same rate. I think Gwen would figure out the sentence before Noah. I think Noah would eventually get it, but I think that Gwen would get it first, and I think Ezekiel would end up winning the challenge in the end for Team Amazon, giving them the reward of a party. And now Heather's real mad because not only did Cody betray her last episode, but also he messed up the challenge by not finishing his part. That just won't do. But moving on, there's Jamaica Me Sweet, or Jamaica Me Sweat. I don't think Izzy's jumping out of the plane here. I think she's gonna want to, but someone rational, like Gwen, would probably try to hold her back. The plane would crash, and then it would come to the diving portion. Cody would be the first diver, Gwen, and Harold. I think Gwen still ends up getting attacked by eels and has to end up in the infirmary. I don't think Cody or Harold end up getting the stuff yet, so I think there's more diving, but in the end, I think Heather's the one that ends up getting the jewels, giving them an advantage in the next part. Next part is the two-person sledding thing, and because Gwen is in the infirmary, Izzy and Ezekiel have to do a lot of this challenge. And I'm not saying they're friends, because Izzy's not the type that tends to make friends, but they're definitely closer than either of them are to Gwen, seeing as they've had to kind of work together throughout this whole challenge. But in the end, I think Team Chris is going to have the best time, and I think it's going to be pretty close between these two. Harold would be telling them about how he has strategies, and Bridget's a surfer, so she could try and figure stuff out. While Ezekiel and Izzy are just getting tired of doing the whole challenge. I think, mainly due to overall Team Amazon, these two being just very light, probably the lightest pair other than Cody and Noah in the cast, I think they end up getting second place, Team Victory end up losing. And now, here, I think LaShawna and Harold start to discuss who they're going to go after. I think Bridget and Lindsay can both see that LaShawna and Harold kind of hold the power here, and I don't think either of them are going to try for a tiebreaker because it's going to be too risky. So, Lindsay votes for Bridget, Bridget votes for Lindsay, and I think LaShawna and Harold are going to end up voting for Lindsay. It's sad to see her go, especially after Tyler just left. But I think Harold and LaShawna would value Bridget as a team member much more than they would with Lindsay. But yeah, the teams are now all, somewhat tied, so Team Amazon are no longer doing too bad. They've only lost one challenge so far, but yeah. We got Icy London. I don't think anyone's getting caught on the plane, right? I think that's fine. I think, for the first part of the challenge, stripping the guard, that Harold's gonna do it, they're gonna force Cody to do it, and they're gonna make Ezekiel do it. They're gonna make Gwen do it. I feel like Gwen is still somewhat on the outs of this team. Like, it's not like they hate her, it's clear that if they were about to go to a vote, Gwen would be gone. But I see London happens. They all strip the guard, they get next clue. This team would stretch Noah on a rack. This team would probably stretch Izzy, because I can't imagine it would hurt her. This team would stretch... I feel like Harold would say he's flexible and could do it. They'd all do that relatively quickly, so they'd move on to the next part. I think Noah would be able to decipher the puzzle. I think Harold would be able to, but it would take him a bit longer. I think Gwen would think of the same solution she did last time, of it being somewhere that Jack the Ripper's known for. Now, because this is a 3-person challenge, I imagine the way it works is basically there's two Jacks, there's two Rippers, right? So, yeah. I think that Team Chris end up catching the Ripper first, making them safe. I think Team Victory catch it next. But then Gwen, Ezekiel, and Izzy grab Duncan. Because they find him, because it was because Gwen was the one that was the main one searching, is why they found Duncan. And because of that, Team Amazon wins. And Duncan gets moved on to the losing team, which I think would be Team Victory. And now here, I think Bridget is gone. I don't even think she fights it. She knows Sean and Harold are too close to not vote for her. But now, Duncan's on Team Victory, and he's kind of like, he's here, so he figures he has to try and actually get in good with his team members, especially LaShawn and Harold, seeing as the last season he was the whole reason both of them got eliminated. We got Grease's pieces, and I think the people volunteering to do the first part of the challenge are Gwen, Cody, and Duncan. I think the Gwen-Duncan kiss still ends up happening. I mean, Courtney's not even here. I don't think anyone would walk in to see them. And if they did, it would be like Ezekiel. Yeah, I think Ezekiel walks in, sees them kiss, and then walks out. Gwen is worried about this, especially since Ezekiel's actually on her team. I think at the end of the first part, Gwen's going to get the medal from the Boar Bear. We got the wrestling next, and I think it's going to be Izzy, Heather, and LaShawna. And I think that LaShawna's going to end up getting the gold medal. Now finally, the last part. If Team Chris doesn't get the medal, then they're going to the elimination ceremony. Team Amazon or if Team Chris does get it, they'll have to do the wings tiebreaker. But I don't think that's going to be necessary. Ezekiel, Noah, and Harold are doing the hurdles, and while I think Noah could beat Ezekiel, I think Harold overall is doing the best in the hurdles, giving Team Victory 2 points, Team Amazon 1 point, and Team Chris no points. Right? And you'd think, oh, okay, that's fine, this is a non-elimination. But it wasn't originally. The whole reason it was is because they voted out Duncan. But Duncan's not on this team, in which I think Noah is voting for Cody, because the team has been somewhat split about it. Cody didn't get a point in the challenge, and yeah. But I think Heather would try to strike a deal with Cody. She'd essentially tell Cody, hey, Noah's a bit too smart for his own good. I think he needs to leave. Cody would agree because it just means it's not him, and Noah is eliminated. In the X-Files, Ezekiel's really not doing well because of this secret. Gwen would try to comfort him saying, hey, I'm real sorry you have to do this, but it's not gonna help much. In the challenge, Cody still uses his candy to get through the minefield, so they get there first and they're able to look for artifacts fast. Team Amazon get there, and Team Victory. And what I think happens is Sean and Harold get attacked by the aliens and Duncan saves them, which LaShawna thinks doesn't mean nothing, because, you know, they're teammates, they have to. But Harold thinks if that was the old Duncan, if that was the Duncan that he met when, you know, they're back on the island in the first season, he wouldn't have done anything. He would have laughed. So Harold thinks it means a lot, and I think Team Victory are going to start to work a bit better as a team. I think Duncan, Harold, and LaShawna are able to get the alien in the box, and because there's no Tyler to stand on a landmine, I think they get first place. Then it's just between Team Amazon and Team Chris. And honestly, I think Izzy is more likely to stand on a mine and it destroying their item, especially since Team Chris got the advantage of getting there first. And despite Gwen kind of being on the outs a lot, I feel like her talk with Ezekiel at the start of this episode, telling him how much he appreciates him not ratting on her, would be enough for Izzy to get eliminated here, especially since she's the one that would break the alien artifact. Alright, so. Panic at Hanging Dork. Now, here, that is Australia. So they got to ride an emu, cross the way, blah blah blah, etc. etc. And now, here, Duncan and Cody don't have their rivalry because Cody doesn't know that Duncan and Gwen kissed. So, yeah. But then I think what happened, I think Duncan, Harold, and Lashawna are able to get the sheep first just because them having a good team dynamic at this point, and they're probably the first team to get the emus there. So that just comes down to Team Chris and Team Amazon. Based on the bad luck Team Amazon had, it's easy to say Team Amazon loses, but Heather and Cody were also Team Amazon. But Cody's not injured here, so I think Team Chris end up moving on to the next episode. Well, Team Amazon have to do the eucalyptus thing, and because Gwen's allergic, Gwen's eliminated, leaving Ezekiel the one and only member of Team Amazon. Alright, sweet and sour. I think at the start of this episode, due to Heather and Cody still being in the economy class with Ezekiel, Heather might try to start striking up a deal with Ezekiel. Even if they can't merge their teams, Heather knows that a good ally would be great, especially when it comes to merge. Well, on Team Victory, they're just relaxing. I think Duncan and Harold are getting a bit closer, while Lashawna's still very suspicious of Duncan. Sweet and sour happens, and all the teams build a boat. Ezekiel's is much smaller, but on the other hand, he doesn't need a big one. And in the, I think Duncan and Lashawna are both electing Harold captain because neither of them want it, and he wants it, and they're both. I feel like it would be a situation of Alejandro and Duncan trying to get Owen on their side. The only difference is I don't think they're really trying to use Harold. Well, Duncan's kind of trying to use Harold, but it's less of a thing of he hates him but just wants his vote. It's a thing of he's just kind of trying to do right by him, especially since Gwen just got eliminated. I think during the challenge, Team Victory is going to be focused on sinking Team Chris's ship, since Ezekiel's not really a threat, so I think Team Amazon gets second, Team Chris last, but luckily it's a reward challenge, so they're fine. The merge hits, so everyone here moves on to the merge. We got some interesting people on this merge. We got Harold and Lashawna, and also, due to the aftermath, I think Blanley still rejoins. Now, is it dumb that Blanley rejoins, especially since this video is having no new contestants? Yes, but seeing as Bridget got out a few episodes ago, Blanley would still rejoin the game. Niagara Brawls happens. Owen's not here, so no one's called the fan favourite, so everyone has to roll the thing and get a pair. I think Duncan ends up going with Lashawna. I think Heather goes with Ezekiel and Harold goes with Cody. And I think due to it being an odd number, Blanley doesn't have to compete because she's a newly joining contestant. Similar to how Courtney got immunity due to her rejoining in action. In this episode, despite Duncan and Lashawna not really liking each other, I think they would have a very good team dynamic. During this, Heather will be trying to get information out of Ezekiel, in which Ezekiel would reveal basically, like, he'd be like, oh man, you know, it's actually a bit better now that Gwen's gone, so now I don't have to hide the secret that Duncan and Gwen kissed. Heather would hear. Blanley would already know that, but I think it makes more sense if Ezekiel reveals it. But yeah, in the challenge, I think Harold and Cody get immunity. I think Heather would want to be carried as the bride and Ezekiel just couldn't. Same thing with Duncan and Lashawna, but Cody and Heather are around the same weight, so I think they could carry each other fine. And I feel like they'd both know the answers to the marriage questions at the end, meaning it's elimination time and the only people up for voting are Duncan, Lashawna, Heather, and Ezekiel. Cody, Heather, and Ezekiel are all voting for Lashawna. Harold, Duncan, and Lashawna are voting for Heather, and I feel like despite them kind of having a rivalry in the Canon World Tour, Heather's going to be trying to get in good with Blanley here. Be like, hey, you know, I know you hate it here, but while you're here, you should probably get out with the strongest player, being Lashawna. She has a big alliance and is just a very strong competitor. And while I could see a direction where Blanley does vote for Heather, I think more realistically, Blanley would vote for Lashawna, especially since I can't see Lashawna, Harold, and Duncan approaching Blanley. So Lashawna leaves here, meaning Harold and Duncan are in an alliance of 2 versus this alliance of 3 and Blanley that's kind of there. In Chinese Fake Out, we have the first challenge where Duncan gets the bike, Harold takes the skateboard, Cody takes the donkey, Blanley gets the rickshaw, and I think Heather would take the pogo stick, while Ezekiel's stuck on the little shoe things. And I think in the end, everyone's gonna end up passing the finish line except for Ezekiel. I think Ezekiel isn't gonna be fast enough. Like, I know Heather was there, but Heather's got longer legs compared to Ezekiel. When it comes to the eating portion, Blanley gets special food from Chef, so she's fine. And I think Cody refused to eat in the first round due to it being donkey. The next round happens, which was, I don't remember what it was, but I remember Heather got out, and I could see Heather getting out here also. Bam. Then we got the starfish, in which I think Duncan could eat before Harold. But after that, I think Heather would call out Blanley for cheating, Chris would have them swap bowls, and Duncan would get immunity. And now, due to the cheating, Heather doesn't want to cheat her in the game. So I think basically everyone unanimously is fine with voting out Blanley here. Duncan and Harold could have tried to use her for a vote, but I don't think either of them respect cheating. We got African lying safari, and here I think Cody and Heather and Ezekiel would be like, hey, no matter what, we have to eliminate Duncan or Harold because they're so close. But Duncan and Harold would probably try to approach Cody, being like, hey dude, we need to get out Heather really, really fast. Now, I don't know what the challenge would be because Zeke's not feral. So, I don't know, it's catching a lion or something. I don't know, some wild animal. But anyway, Cody's not sick because Sierra doesn't drug him, so he's fine. So, I think at the end of the challenge, I think Duncan and Harold will bag the animal, but Duncan will give Harold the immunity. I think Harold and Duncan vote for Heather. Heather, Ezekiel would vote for Duncan. And Cody would be very just, he doesn't know what to do here. Until Heather says that Ezekiel saw Duncan and Gwen kiss. In Duncan, that's not good for Duncan. Because Cody votes for Duncan, meaning Duncan gets 5th place again. Rappa Fui, due to Harold winning first class, I think he would bring Cody with him. Despite Cody being the reason Duncan's gone, Cody is probably the only person he could get to when it comes to being in alliance. Because I think Ezekiel is way too trusting. I think Ezekiel trusts Heather. Despite her being the bad guy, I think he is on her side. Rapafui happens, and I think similar things happen. Heather wins, gets the reward, and I think she's taking Cody with her to first class. Both Harold and Cody both Harold and Heather are really trying to get Cody on their side, but Harold realizes he could use this as a chance to possibly try and convince Ezekiel to vote with him. All Drumheller happens. I think Harold ends up coming up with the most creative dinosaur. So he gets the drill, and honestly, the drill was way too good of a thing, because I think Harold gets immunity. Heather really doesn't like this because it means she has to either vote for Cody or Ezekiel. She knows that. So I think Heather will go to Harold and Cody and be like, hey, possibly for this one time, what if we teamed up and voted out Ezekiel? Because she figures it would be the easiest vote and it would save her. Harold and Cody would agree, but then they would go straight to Ezekiel saying, hey, Heather's trying to backstab you. Ezekiel would say, no, there's no way. So Ezekiel would vote for Cody, Heather would vote for Ezekiel. I think Harold and Cody would vote for Heather, making it 2-1 vote. Heather would leave and Ezekiel would see that Harold and Cody weren't lying to him. The plane doesn't explode here, but I think the challenge stays similarly, where you just kind of get supplies from the plane or not, and then you have to get to the thing. I think Harold and Cody would be scourging, trying to get supplies for something, while Ezekiel just kind of walks in a direction until he finds the train station randomly. Harold and Cody find the supplies to make a hot air balloon, but they realize they can't both do it. I think Harold, due to his honor, would let Cody make the hot air balloon while he makes something else. Cody makes the hot air balloon, but he crashes into the electric line. I think Ezekiel's the first one to get to the boats, then it's Harold, and I don't think Cody's straight up giving up, because before he gave up because he was against Alejandro and Heather, and well, I mean, it's Alejandro and Heather, but here he's against Ezekiel and Harold. So I think that Cody gets there third, so it all comes down to the boat race. I think due to the time advantage, Ezekiel ends up getting to the island first, giving him a spot in the finale. So it comes down to Harold and Cody. And Harold's honorable, but he's not going to give up his place in the final two easily. So Harold and Cody would fight with swordfish and stuff. I think Harold would end up accidentally running into a mine, and I think a similar thing to canon would actually happen. Ezekiel would be safe, but Harold and Cody have to do a tiebreaker, and in said tiebreaker of the fire fight thing, I think Harold would have some mad skills and get out Cody here. Cody gets third place, meaning they're the final two. Ezekiel, for his team, would pick Gwen and Izzy due to them being the last members of his team before, the end of the game. But I think for Harold, he would pick Lashona and Duncan as his helpers. So the finale would go as before. I think Harold probably ended up getting the wheelbarrow, and Ezekiel got nothing. I can't see Ezekiel having too many fans. Like, some people would see him as an underdog, so I don't think he'd be in the Heather situation of no one's on his side. I don't think too many people would want to work with him. So, Harold would have a big advantage until they got to the lava portion. I think Izzy just cuts all the ropes at once and Harold gets hit by something. giving Ezekiel the chance to catch up and pass Harold. Theo would be carrying his Harold statue as Harold catches up till they get to the top of the volcano, where I think, in my ending, I think Ezekiel takes the win. I think Ezekiel is able to catch out Harold. But if you'd prefer, I think Harold could also easily trick Ezekiel into being distracted, or even Duncan. Duncan could be the reason Harold wins here. Duncan could distract Ezekiel so that Harold gets the chance to move past and win. But yeah, whether or not you want Harold or Duncan to win, or Harold or Ezekiel to win, they're both winners in some timeline. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if not, too bad.